I'd like to thank everybody for being here, and on behalf of the family, we are so grateful that you would take time out and make the effort to travel the many miles a lot of you have to be here to honor our dear friend. You may be seated.
Friends, family, and loved ones, it's my honor to pay tribute to my big brother. I'm Hawaii Lankins, and I am Lou's baby sister. All and I better know him as Junior. There aren't enough words or space on paper for me to be able to truly write a bio that captures fully the man he was. Tagoai was born on April 10, 1972 to our parents, Tagoai and Tagoai in Fukinga, American Samoa. He left Samoa when he was 5 years old with our parents and younger brother Ala for a better life in Hawaii. We moved to Seattle with our dad when Junior was 11 years old, but he went back to Hawaii shortly thereafter to live with our mom. Junior played basketball in middle school for Kalakaua. This was his first love. Junior was a track star, shot put and discus, and football player at Puno High School between 86 and 90. He was an English major at University of Arizona, 92-95, bear down. He went to the draft his senior year in college. He spent some years in the NFL with Dallas Cowboys and Kansas City Chiefs, and even in the Canadian League. He moved back home to Hawaii at the end of '98, where he worked at Kolinga Golf Course and was a football coach at Kamehameha Schools, sports, and men's training. That was my brother. He moved to Minnesota, thanks Candace, in the fall of 2000. He worked at Sportsmart, Sprint, and Burn. His co-workers became friends, and those friends became family. He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in February 2017, and one of his last requests was to move to Florida. His best friends, James Lucio, Gary Hunter, Tony, and Norton Thunder, made that move a reality on October 26th. Junior arrived in Florida on Friday, October 27th, and on November 3rd, peacefully transitioned in my home with our mom and family at his bedside. My brother Moo was my hero, and now he's my angel. He was 6 years older than me, so for as long as I can remember, he literally was larger than life. Even though he was bigger, stronger, and smarter, he always had time for his baby sister. He taught me how to push myself. When I was younger, he always showed me tricks and I had to figure out how he did them. If I guessed right, he'd pat me on the head and say, "Good job." And if not, he just chuckled and simply said no. He did, however, indulge me when I asked him to show me again, sometimes 4 or 5 times so I could figure it out. He must have gotten soft over the years, because those same tricks that took me forever to figure out, he was now showing and teaching my kids how to do. My brother was a gentle giant. As big as he was in size, his heart was even bigger. My brother taught me how to shuffle a deck of cards, how to use proper grammar, how to be practical. I love him dearly and miss him immensely. Junior, my brother, this is for you. You were taken way too soon. I know you have influenced everyone who has ever known you in a way that will stay with them for the rest of their lives. You had a way of making everyone that knew you feel special, like you were our best friend. I will remember your love for Jeopardy, your love for crosswords and Scrabble. I will remember you playing Superman with me when I was a kid and really throwing me across the floor. I will remember when you took me golfing and it wasn't until we walked 18 holes that you told me I could have drove instead. I will remember you educating me on cigars that burn. I still don't know nothing except for when the bag is soft, it's good. But that was from James. I will remember my face in your chest when you gave me the best bear hugs, even though I couldn't breathe. I will remember your huge, warm, and sometimes cheeky smile with your perfect teeth. I will remember your manicured nails. I will remember watching you put my kids on your knee and bouncing them until they fell off, only for the next one to scream, "My turn, Uncle Moo." I will remember your always stoic demeanor and reply to something with, "That's ridiculous," which I know was code for, "I really love you." I will remember how proud of your friendships you were. You always shared your stories of a friend's accomplishments with me. I will remember your love for your parents, Dawson and Bart. I will remember the story you told Daniel about Pops and pocket knives. That was both a beautiful story and a history lesson of how knives are made. You were such a great storyteller, and they were always so entertaining and educational. I remember how much you loved your friends and family. I will remember how you loved me the most. Parentheses, you know I had to throw that one in there. I always know that you're shaking your head and muttering ridiculous. Everyone here has their memories of and with you, and are better people because of those memories. Although Aria and Elena are too young to remember your memories and spirit, your memories and spirit lives on for them through the gentle and kind spirit and always reading a book in JJ, your athleticism and love for music and scent, your continued pursuit for knowledge and love for proper grammar and camera, and your smile, laughter, and practical jokes and Corey. Your blood runs through ours, and so does your spirit. Friends and family, when I find myself sad or crying, I think about how Junior would not want to be the reason for my sadness or anyone's sadness. He would reach over and put his big hand on my back and wait till I made eye contact with him and say, hey, stop crying. And then flash his big smile and raise his eyebrows, and I know he will do the same for all of you too.
Liza.
Boys are here to support me because I'm nervous and I don't know if I can keep it together. I almost backed out of singing this song just so you all know, but then I imagine Moo saying, "Hey, Manon, sing." And so, this one day, so forgive me if I crack a note. Okay. This is harder than I thought. I know, that's right. I pray you'll be our eyes and watch us to where we go and help us to be wise in times when we don't know. Let this be our prayer when we lose our way. Lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, to a place where we'll be safe. And when we'll pain and sorrow will be ended, and every heart that's broken will be mended, and we remember we are all God's children, reaching out to touch you, reaching to the sky. Lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, to a place where we'll be safe.
This is truly an honor for me to be asked by the family to give a short reflection to honor their son, brother, uncle, and our dear friend Moo. Fee, Dave, Doss, Ala, Hawaii, Daniel, nieces and nephews, as you look around the church, you are surrounded by a host of friends who love Moo as a friend and a brother, and each of us shares in your loss. I hope this support shown here today by friends, some who've traveled many miles to be here, gives you a little bit of comfort and peace, knowing while Moo was living here in Minnesota, away from you, he was dearly loved. Moo was a very special person, large in stature, but in a heart even larger. The overwhelming theme of the responses to the post I put up on Facebook and the many other posts I read over the past 2 weeks were what a caring, compassionate friend Moo was. Many people said he would always remember me on my birthday, anniversary, at holidays with a special text greeting. I know in my case, it was often the first one that I would get on that special day. And getting to know many of his former high school classmates from Punahou and from the University of Arizona, the response was he always looked out for me. He made sure I was okay, a true and loyal friend. My wife said to me, it is amazing reading all these different posts from so many different friends. Moo was a protector, friend, big brother to them all. To many of us, Moo was all that and more. He was one of the smartest people I'd ever met. Very deep in his thought, quiet in his faith, and not afraid to challenge me when I needed it most. I can honestly say I'm a better man today for having known and loved him. One of his greatest qualities was his care and concern for others that I've shared. When he called me in February and told me he had cancer, he said, "Don't say anything to anybody at this time." I asked him if I could at least tell Deborah, my wife, to which his response was a classic move. "Yes, but I don't want her to worry. But ask her to pray for me." Never once during this entire battle did I hear him complain or ask, "Why me?" He fought hard right up to the very end. Usually a person does not get to realize the impact he or she makes in this world, because all these things usually come out after they've passed away. Mo got to see a small part of what he meant to people on Thursday night, September 7th, when we held a fundraiser for him. Many of you here today were at that fundraiser as part of that event. Afterwards, on the ride home, I said, "What an amazing night." Mo responded in his typical stoic fashion, "Yes, really kind of silly all these people would come out for me." I told Mo, in a small way, it was everyone who was there and ones who couldn't be there, way to show the impact you have made in and on their lives. I wish all you family members could have been there to see how much we truly loved him. As I was thinking of a way to honor Mo and help those of us here in the process of healing, I thought of the legacy Mo has left us, of a true, compassionate, caring friend. He always was thinking of others. To you nieces and nephews, Mo was so proud of each of you. He would often tell me how you were doing, what you were up to. He loved you guys so much. He had such a quiet and calming demeanor, and many people have told me since he passed away how his smile and presence would light up a room. This is quite a legacy Mo leaves each of you and us, one worthy of trying to live up to. When someone passes from this life onto the next, it's hardest for those of us left behind, grieving and feeling the pain of our loss. There's another legacy we can leave those who are left behind, and that is a legacy of eternal hope. Mo may be gone from this earth, but I truly believe in talks he and I shared. In those last few weeks in the hospital, he had the hope that he would be in heaven. I just didn't realize it'd be so soon. Having a hope of eternal life is a gift God gives us. It is a choice for us to accept or not, but it is our choice. John 3:16 and 17 says, "For God so loved the world, he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to judge the world, but that the world might be saved through him." Friends, this is a gift free for the taking. Each of us must decide whether to follow him or not. One of the last things I was able to share with Mo was my life verse, the verse I chose many years ago during confirmation, 2 Corinthians 5:21. "He made him who knew no sin to be sin on our behalf, that we might become the righteousness of God in him." What this is saying is there's no amount of good works that you can or need to do. It is a gift being offered to each of us to accept him and allow him to live in us. This isn't about being a Lutheran, a Catholic, a Baptist, or any other denomination. This is about believing and trusting in him. Romans 14:7 through 9 says, "For not one of us lives for himself, and not one of us dies for himself. For if we live for the Lord. If we die for the Lord. Therefore, whether we live or die, we are the Lord's. For to this end Christ died and lived again, that he might be Lord of both the living and the dead." This gives us purpose and hope. There is a legacy of hope beyond this earth that we can have if we trust in God, that we can pass on and leave to those in our family and our friends. Hawaii told me that Arya would go into Moo's room each night and say, "Good night, Uncle Mo," before she went to bed. But on Thursday night, she went and said, "Goodbye, Uncle Mo." When asked about it, she told Hawaii and Daniel, "Uncle Mo is going home tonight." Out of the mouth of babes. This is a peace and calm each of us here today can have by simply accepting God's free gift. Ask him to forgive you of your sins. Romans 6:23 says, "For the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus." Romans 10:13 says, "Whoever will call on the name of the Lord will be saved." It is a peace and a gift each of us is freely offered. The peace and hope of eternal life. Hope knowing that we will be joining at heaven's banquet table. Again, thank you for asking me and allowing me to share this. Malolo I le filamo. Rest in peace, Samoa. Thank you. Nephews are going to come up and share a memory of their uncle. While they're doing that, when they're finished, we'd like to invite anybody here who has a favorite story or a memory of both. We want to celebrate his life. We'd like you to share that with their family, just so we can remember him with that smile on his face. Guys, come on.
So my name's JJ. I'm the oldest of my mom's kids. And so a majority of the memories I shared with my uncle Moo revolved around watching anime together. Whether that be Naruto all those years ago in Illinois, or more recently with watching One Piece with my mom, the show he said she'd never liked. And he always, as Mom said, he always edited anything that we did, regardless if we were a friend or family. He always said that it was his favorite. I'm not sure if it was to comfort us or, right? And that was the kind of uncle I had, and he was always willing and up to watching my favorite shows with me, even though he was never really into playing games himself. He loved watching me and my brothers play together and watching the trailers, and he always asked about details of the game. He was intrigued by the worlds that people could create with their minds and always encouraged us to do the same. And yeah.
A memory I have with my uncle is when I was a little kid, he used to show us these magic tricks. And this one trick he always showed me was my favorite, even though I didn't understand it. he would throw an invisible ball in the air and catch it in the bag and make a sound to make it seem like it was a real ball. He always was so cool and paid so much attention to us and to everything we said or asked. His answers always so thoughtful, and I miss him a lot.
I would first like to thank everyone for coming, and I would like to say my uncle was a great man. And when you first met him, you might think he was a tough, mean guy, but he was one of the most caring people despite his large stature. I remember when he came to visit me and all my brothers, we all dashed to him and then asked him to constantly show us tricks as long as we asked. One of the things he showed us was he picked us up with one hand and held us above his head and made us believe like we were superheroes all day long. He used to toss us off onto the couch, and then when the other one asked, he did it as long as they wanted to.
I miss my uncle. He was fun and cool. He always made lots of jokes. If you want to hear a joke, come to me after because the jokes he told me are bad.
Thank you. If there's anybody out there that would like to get up and share a story with me, we'd love to hear it. Debbie, come on up over here. The mic is yours.
Today is a celebration time. As a mother, I was sitting in that room with amazed how so many people walk in that door because of my son. I don't have the words. I don't know how to ever thank you. All I know, the Almighty God fulfill and double all what you have done and given, your caring, your love, your prayers, the friendship with my son. Well, I found out I was pregnant. 6 months I went to the doctor and he told me, the baby is not moving. You need to come to see. You might be to check to see if he's alive. They admitted me in 6 months. The doctor came around and he said, the baby is sleeping. That's all you know. You just eat and sleep. We wanted to see if he can move. They would put all the belts and all the technology back then, in those days, back in American Samoa, to see if he can move. But no. I was playing cricket. Back then I was really heavy because he was growing. He was eating a lot. He loves to eat. All my friends said, how can you run around with that baby? I said, no, the doctor said he's sleeping. 8 months, the doctor came back in the room. My feet, I couldn't walk. And he told me, he looked at me, what you have in you. This baby is still growing. He's a healthy baby, but he's still sleeping. 9 months, I was still in the hospital. The doctor said, we're not going to do anything. When he's ready to come, he will come. April 10, 1972. He was the biggest baby in the hospital. He was about almost 10 pounds big. The doctor took him, threw him, turned him upside down, see if he would cry. But all I see, that big smile. They say he's very healthy. That's all he doesn't eat and sleep. The doctor told me, Phil, you have a peaceful child. He was right. He was right. The last 45 years with that child, he was a child peaceful maker. He loves to create peace. That's all he talks about. When I take my children to the restaurant, my food is not cold, my coffee is not strong enough. He looked at me, Mom, don't say anything. I said, but I'm not happy. Are you coming back again? They might put something in your food next time. So I try not to complain. But I know he always wants to create peace. 1986, November 28th, I finally took him to have his ID, stick everything. And he said, Mama, can you take to the movie, the Bruce Lee movie back then in Noir? It was expensive to me. Probably was only 75 cents. It was in a Chinatown. The guy that was standing in the window just saw me, and I told him, it's one adult and one child. He looked up in the door and he looked up at me. And he said, why are you trying to cheat? It's only 75 cents. There are 2 adults out here. And I told him, no, it's not an adult, it's my child. Do you have proof? Right away, moved to Tagoai ID. The Chinese man looked at my ID, he looked outside and shook his head, go. We came out the movie and he said, I'm not gonna go movie anymore. Nobody believe I'm a child, Mom. I said, it's okay. You're a big, healthy child. We lived far away, way back to Hammond School. He was sleeping on my lap when we got the bus at 5:30 in the morning. The bus was almost missed a bus stop. Somebody hit my back and they said, wake up, your husband is ready to bus, he's gonna stop. We looked at him and he just laughed at the guy looking and said, oh, he's just a giant child. He is so giant, but his heart even giant of love, peace, and caring. Look at all the people. Look at all the people touching his life. I could never afford to feed Noah when he was growing up. I knew I had to find 2 or 3 jobs. I worked 2 or 3 jobs, and he was attending Punahou. He comes home and he said, Mama, can you afford to find some steak? And I said, no. Dawes and Barbara became moved, 9 parents. They don't want to feed him steak. They don't want to teach him how to eat, use chopsticks. They taught him very well. The very food I couldn't afford. He'd been loved by so many people. I want to take the opportunity. Thank you, God. I know God was nothing, but I could never do what they have done to my son. He moved to Minnesota. Carrie and Barbara became his parents. Tony became a big brother. James was his little younger brother. He was always talking about James. He sent a picture to me in February. I didn't know he was diagnosed. I am so stupid. I am so stupid. I don't learn and I don't know. And I told my son, he looks so good. He lost a lot of weight. I asked him, are you okay? He said yes. He came to Florida. I saw how much men lost so much weight. I wanted him to come home. Like my daughter said, Carrie, Tony was James, and one of the best friends, found and that happened. Just like he was sleeping in my tummy and peacefully come out, he passed away peacefully in November. Families and friends, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Let the Lord be with you. In Jesus' name I pray.
My name is Doss. Far too much script. Vitaly, thank you for sharing him, my family. Yes, we fed him a few meals, but it was a small price to pay for him being part of our family. They send their love. They want you to know how much our son meant to all of us. And we're like the rest of you. We'll buzz up over this thing, you know. And I've known Mo since he was ninth grader. Said McKinley that he was going to come to Puno. There begins this long, loving relationship with our family, including my dad, which he visited often when my dad lived in South Dakota. And everybody talks about this time about how loving, kind he was. We all know that. But what I want to share with you that nobody else, as one of the persons said is, you know, I taught him how to play football. I want to get in the stance, all that. And I was smart enough to know that you don't want to coach too many guys like Mo because it would make you think you were a good football coach. Clearly one of the most intelligent people I've ever come across. Incredibly bright. Great instincts, intuition. You know, he didn't study hard. Let me first tell you that. He didn't study hard. Didn't need to. You know, he got by with his native intelligence.
probably should have continued in track. That was where it would have fitted better because, as we all know, football player type mentality. It was tough, okay? But track was his deal because it was more intellectual. And what was intellectual? Okay. A gifted athlete, holy smokes, yes. Okay. It was fun coaching him. It was hard on him. Put up with it. I loved him. Made my life better, made our family's life better. And I'm really, really happy I came here to see all of his friends that he loved, and especially to thank all of you guys that took such good care of him towards the end, especially James and Gary, and whoever took him back to Florida to be with his mom and his family so he could pass with them. I knew he wasn't going to get out of this. I knew enough about pancreatic cancer. So we talked. All I say was, yeah, a little bit tired, but I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. What else? I did respond, and I think, well, he's not feeling well. It's chemo's getting harder. And we got the word from Hawaii. Within hours, he had passed. So, again, thank you to all of you here from Minnesota that loved him, especially you guys that took such good care of him. He was an easy guy to love. He made all of our lives better. And again, Fiatele, thank you for sharing him with my family. Pass it forward.
Aloha. Aloha. And Talofa. Stories of the moon. Growing up, there's been a few that we shared with everyone and a few we kept to ourselves. And I was fortunate enough to be in that transition time with Moo as he transitioned from McKinley to Punahou. I also was coming from another school to join him to attend Punahou. And while we were there, I think the school thought that they were doing Moo a favor by giving him an opportunity for a great education, to be surrounded with people that loved and cared for him. But I think in return, the school was the one who benefited the most. I'm a graduate with Moo, and a lot of our classmates and I have been talking about experiences that we've had with him. And all of them start with, man, that guy always was looking out for me. I can share stories of me and other teammates arguing and Moo choosing to stand on a table to tell us to stop. Like, why are you even on a table? You're like 6 forever. and stop the fight. And stop the argument between me and Scott Turner. He was our punter. I don't know why we were arguing, but Moo didn't like it. And he tried to stop the fight by standing on the table. It made us all laugh. And he's like, you are the biggest guy here. We can see you, Moo. You don't need to be on the table. Another time, another story I'll share with you guys is, as you know, when Halloween comes around, there are certain teachers that you may not like, and they deserve a little bit of egg salad on their house. And so in sharing that tradition with some of our teachers, some of the guys got caught. But the funniest part of that story was they saw a guy trying to cover the license plate of the vehicle as they drove off. And the only one that could reach that far was Moo. So everybody knew must have been Moo. But then again, trying to look out for his buddies, the license plate wouldn't get seen, everybody was safe. As I was making my way here, and thinking of all the opportunities that we've had to talk and share, I live on the north shore of Oahu, and when we first started going to school, Mo and I spent a lot of time together. There's been a lot of people in our lives that have blessed us, and I'm so grateful for them. There was a story of, and it's a confessional, Mo is a gentle giant, yes? Y'all can all agree to that. He's a protector, yes? And there was one basketball game that we played against Damien High School that he came to my protection. I was a hothead. You can't tell by now, I'm pretty calm. But I was a hothead in high school, and somebody said something I didn't like, and I hit him. And as soon as I hit him, the next person that was next to me was Mo. And then somebody hit somebody else, and it continued, and somehow we didn't get suspended, and I was just grateful it ended. But Mo was there to protect me. Another story that I have with my brother. He was such an athlete, so natural, so fluid. I knew that I was faster than him, though. I wasn't, but I knew that I was. So we were running this 40, and I'm giving it all I got, and my face is red, and I got snot coming, because I'm trying to beat this guy, and he's kind of, he was running, and then he was ahead of me. He could have beat me by so much. But then he saw how hard I was trying. And he slowed down so that I wouldn't look so bad. And I thought about that as I was driving over here today. My gratitude for him, his love, and his support that he gave me. I had a chance to join their basketball team when I was coming from a different part of the town. And he just always found a way to make me feel comfortable and welcome and loved. And my family, we live on the North Shore, and their hearts are with humanity. And Allah, Lord, He's touched so many people. My brothers and my sisters who live in Hawaii and Utah asked me to send all of us to you. And our classmates, like Brandon Ito and Scott Turner, and all the young men that, Ryan Awong, all the boys from Punahou that grew up with me and shared some of those experiences in high school. There's a picture of us in our senior prom with Coach Doss, and it's one of my cherished items. We were some young men that were trying to become men, some young boys that were trying to become men. We had some great love and support from those that are around us, and I'm so grateful to hear that Mo was able to pass that on and share that with all of you here in Minnesota. Thank you for loving you. Thank you for raising him up. And thank you for comforting him in his time of need. Our prayers were with you, that you would have the time, you would have the means to uplift him. Our prayers are with you, that you would know our gratitude for your support of our dear brother. There's a scripture that I'd like to share. And as I was looking through these scriptures, I was looking at the word comforter. What could I share that meant a lot to me, that spoke to my heart about my dear brother? And this is found in Romans chapter 1. And it is verses 11 and 12. And it reads, "For I long to see you, that I may impart unto you some spiritual gift, to the end ye may be established. That is, that I may be comforted together with you by the mutual faith, both of you and me." Mo and I were of different faiths, but we were brothers before we came to this earth, I believe, and were able to share precious moments of growth, of love, and of opportunity of growth. I'd like to thank Auntie, Hawaii, and Allah for allowing me to be a part of our lives. for allowing me to have a short part of cherishing him and honoring him. And I pray that as we leave today, that the memory of my dear brother may continue in your lives, that you may feed those who are hungry, that you may clothe those who are naked, and that you may give rest to those who are in need. I offer this prayer to you in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Anybody else that would like to come up and share a story?
My name is John Curley. I'm one of Moo's golf buddies. Several golf buddies from Emerald Greens are here. And I would thank the family for sharing with us and sharing Moo with us, because he was a great blessing to us. I'm reflecting on the fruits of the Spirit of love and joy and peace and kindness and generosity and faithfulness and gentleness and self-discipline. And so much of those fruits of the Spirit are reflected in Moo. Kindness. That's been mentioned several times. But before we canonize Moo, I would point out there are 3 stories that I will tell, 2 of which he was not that kind. I can remember the first time that I met Moo on the tee box at Emerald Greens with our friend Gary. I think, okay, this guy was, what, an 18 handicap or something like this at the time. And Ernie and I teed it up, and we got right 18 handicap. And the woods is full of long hitters and all of that. And Moo steps up to the tee, 18 handicapper. That big, agile body, boom! 300 yards, right down the center of the fairway. And he continued to play that way, and they beat us like an old dusty rug. Wasn't that kind that day. Second memory, Gary, you weren't here for that, and it's on number 12, par 5. Moo was on 5. He no longer was an 18 handicap, he was playing single digits. And they were just thrashing us. I'm not sure who your sub was. We got down to the last hole, and I thought, you know, God darn it, if we win this hole, we might get a point or maybe 2 points. It was a par 5. I had a 15-foot putt for birdie, and he had like a 12-foot putt for birdie. I drained my birdie putt, and I thought, okay, man, that ought to shrink that hole up pretty good. There's no way Moo is going to hit this putt. Son of a gun, he drains that putt, and I think they just ran the table on a 6-0. He wasn't very kind that day. But again, just that joy of Moo, and he just smiled, and it was wonderful. Third memory, Hawaii, was with you this last summer, coming up to caddy. And what an honor that was to play with you as his caddy that day. The love that you've shown us. He's a blessing to me. He's a blessing to so many people that he's played golf with here. And like you, Gary, I'm a better man for having had Moo in my life. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jason, and I'm part of Moo's Byrne family, and one of many, many here today. And I'm guessing I know where Moo's going to be right around 401 today, and that would be the little shop right down the street where he would join us for a smoke and tell us endless stories of things that we would never have figured out on our own. Moo knew more than any or all of us combined, and that's difficult to think about not having in our lives any longer. But I was told that this was a celebration of life, and that we would all have a chance to talk about it, and One of the memories I remember the most about Moo was sitting out at a little spot we called Burn West, which was right next to the shop outside during summer evenings, where we would sit all night long and tell stories and maybe smoke a cigar, honey, and share some time together and appreciate things. And I remember one of the things that we talked about endlessly was different cultures, different people. He had so much to say about his family, about the friends and his family at Punahou High School, and cultures and different things that I just was amazed that he knew about, because he listened and paid attention to people. And one of the things that we had a lot of fun talking about, and that he always wanted to hear, was what it was like growing up in a Jewish family. And being from a half-Jewish family, I had plenty to share with him about that, and he loved it. And one of the things I remember talking to him about was when a loved one passes on in a Jewish family, and I have to say this carefully, you participate in a tradition called sitting Shiva. And I have to say that carefully because it can come out wrong. But that is, that's a tradition where for 7 days, you basically sit in a dark room and you light candles, you cover the mirrors, you sit on very, very small and uncomfortable stools or chairs, and family members come up and they offer their condolences, and they offer you treats and food, and they offer you stories, and they offer you hugs, and they offer you their condolences that you have to sit for 6 more days on a little wooden stool in a dark room, and that is how Jews mourn those that they've lost. And in a lot of ways, I think Moo's Burn family feels like we've been sitting Shiva for a while since we learned of his passing. It's been cold, it's been gray, it's been dark, and the days have been a little bit emptier, both at the store and in our own lives. I've done more crying than I knew I was capable of, although I seem not to be able to cry today, and I think that maybe has a little something to do with Moo. And I remember during these cold, dark days, my favorite stories of Moo. One of them was at a golf tournament we were at, where we were playing for some charity, and this kind woman on one of the tees who was volunteering her time was sitting there waiting for groups to come around, and she would take pictures of the foursomes as they would come through so that they could show them at the end of the round during the dinner and the banquet afterwards. And we came around and we knew what she was doing there, and she said, "Hey, can I take a picture of you?" And we all gathered together, except for Moo, who looked at her and said, "Only if you get rid of that chair." And we all looked at the chair, and of course it was an Arizona State chair. And he kind of meant it. I don't think he was 100% joking, and she did fold up the chair. So, every time I watch Arizona State do anything on TV now, I call them the community college, because that's what he told me Arizona State is. And I also remember Moo did love to eat, but he was passionate about what he ate and who made it for him. And I remember that one of our favorite things to do after we played a round of golf was to go find a place to eat. I know you're surprised about that, but he was tall, I'm out. But we both shared a love for eating and talking about the chefs that made him certain things and the dishes that he ate back at home. And still to this day, I'm searching for the perfect dish of mapo tofu, which was one of his favorite dishes. And we found a place in Bloomington that served mapo tofu, and it met Moo's standards. And so we would go there and we would just talk about food, and we would talk about his food and his friends who made it for him and his family. And I remember that memory also. And I remember saying to him, "We've got to go back there soon," and we never did. And so missing out on opportunities to do the things that you'd love to do with him one more time. That's certainly been a part of this period since we learned of his passing. And I remember most of all going to watch the movie Deadpool with him. I was the lucky one who got to go. And let me tell you, that movie made Moo laugh, and laugh a lot. And for those of you who have been lucky enough to be around Moo when he laughs, it's deep and it's heartfelt and it is wonderful because it feels like a warm embrace. And I remember even sitting during the movie thinking how cool this was because I had never seen this side of Moo before. He literally was just lost in laughter. And when we walked out of the movie, he couldn't stop laughing. And I will never forget that because his laughter just resonated. And I'm sure at times people were wondering who we were up near the front and who it was that was bellowing and howling so loudly, but Moo wouldn't take it back, and he had a wonderful time, and I'll always remember that movie. So those are the things that I thought of, and when I thought about a celebration of life, I thought, I don't want to celebrate. I don't. Even last night I was crying again, listening to the Hawaiian music that we used to turn on my little phone and listen to while we would share stories and smoke cigars and enjoy the peaceful breeze and the moonlight at Burn West. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it today, or get up here and talk, or get over not having any more of those opportunities, until I woke up today. And after what had to be a dozen or 15 or 20 days of gray clouds and cold skies and darkness and emptiness, I woke up to bright sunshine and clear skies. And it was only after that, and only after thinking about the fact that when I celebrate Moo's life, and when I remember things about Moo, it never used to be about him. I don't remember any of the stories being about him. I remember golfing in league with all of the golf people that he knew and loved and used to talk about, and occasionally complained about slow play or someone sinking an 80-foot putt to beat him on the 18th hole. I remember him talking about the friends from home and the family that he was so proud of, and just endless stories. If he was here for another 100 years, we would never stop talking about those things. And I remember Deadpool being not just about how much he loved it, but how much we loved it. And the fact that when it was all over and we were headed to the car, he said, you know, we should see that again. And I realized that celebrating Moo's life and a celebration of life isn't celebrating the things that Moo did that we won't be able to do with him anymore. It's celebrating the things we were able to do with Moo by going on and going out there after this is over and doing them every single day. The only time I actually got to sit Shiva was with a guy I met down in West Palm Beach, Florida. His name was Ronnie. And Moo and I talked about this often too. Ronnie used to go to the West Palm Beach, Florida dog track and smoke cigars. And that's where I learned how to smoke cigars. So Ronnie's probably not one of my wife Cindy's favorite people, but it meant a lot in my life because I was out of town, away from family, away from home for 2 years on a project for my employer. And the only thing I got to do for fun was go to the dog track and smoke cigars. And I used to do that by myself, day after day after day, until Ronnie showed up. And we used to call him Ronnie Cornelis because he used to teach me how to bet the Cornelis while we were smoking cigars. And Moo loved that story, not because I did it, but because it was a story of being asked by Ronnie's family to sit Shiva because his only remaining family member didn't want to do it alone. And so I did it for 2 days. And it was difficult thinking about not having him around anymore and how he went alone. That I had to step in for him. But every time I'm at a dog track, I love it even more. Every time I'm at Burn and smoke a cigar, I love it even more because I met him. And so when I think of Moo today, on this sunny, somehow sunny day for the first time in weeks, and a celebration of his life, and look around at all of the people here, and then all of the messages from people all around the world, from people whose life he touched and whose lives were touched by him, that's the celebration of life. And that's why I wanted to get up here today and remind you that celebrating Moo's life is what we do after we leave here today. And enjoying each of those things that he was lucky enough to do with us a little bit more because we got to do those things with him. So, to his family, all I want to say is he's going to miss you. I know you're going to miss him, but he was so proud of you, every one of you. And all of the stories just made him beam from ear to ear so much that I've never met you, but I feel like I've known you my entire life. And Hawaii, getting to finally meet you at the golf course, I knew why. He was so proud you were the caddy. But at the end of the day, when we leave here, let's just go do the things he would have loved to do with us, and that will be the ultimate celebration for us all. Thanks.
We're running on here, but I'll be quick. Gentle giant, protector. Often tell my friends at Burn if I ever had to go down a dark alley, it would be with Moo on one side and Dan on the other. He told a story about him growing up and eating. My first breaking of bread with Moo was at a Burn board meeting at Fogo de Chao. I never knew it was possible for one man to eat that much meat. Story about his prodigious golf drives. What you may not know, Gary would know, but what you may not know is he had the gentlest, softest hands around the green that you ever saw. And that was really insight into the gentle soul he was. So Moo, friend, protector, gentle giant, learned, prodigious drives, great appetite, as you would say, ridiculous.
Jason. Most of you know me as Irv because apparently at Vern there can only be one Jason. That's Jason. I remember the Friday night getting the text, and I knew before I looked at it what had happened. And most of us found a way not to be at work on Friday and found our way to Vern, and I walked in, and James was behind the desk, and he commanded me, we will just tell fun stories about Moo today. That's what Hawaii wanted, and he was going to text all of them to her. And I thought about it a lot, and I kept coming up with the fact that despite, all of Moo's hobbies and talents, it seemed like, to me, his favorite thing to do was hide places and scare the living crap out of me. And he took a lot of pride in how well he did that. Whether it was at the store, hiding behind stuff and jumping out at me. A couple years ago, he went to the cabin with a bunch of us, and those of you who've been to my in-laws' cabin know that water is in very short supply. So I knew to be first up to get to the bathroom. 6:30 in the morning, I'm going to the bathroom. I'm done. Open the door, and there's Moo in basketball shorts and no shirt on, scaring the crap out of me. I fell on my knees. He just kind of looked at me like, all right, Irv, it's over. You can get up now. I need to go. So, I just think to myself, someday, I'm going to see Moo again, and what's the first question I'm going to ask him? And it's obvious to me, which is, how the hell does somebody so big find such great places to hide? Because he was great at that. And, years from now, those are the things that I'm going to miss. So, thank you.
My name is Mark. I only knew him for about 7 or 8 years. Met him at Vern. I was a golf professional for 10 years or so, and so he liked playing golf with me. We had many great rounds. Last couple of years, too many to count. A lot with Gary, some of the other guys. I sit here thinking, and I listen to people tell stories, and mostly just coming up jealous of the people who had more time with them. Just a phenomenal person. I tried to explain to one of my buddies from work, the best way I could explain him to you is he was a world champion human being. I just wanted to say thank you to his family for bringing him into this world so we could know him. And to Hawaii, the example you have set as a sister is unparalleled. Nobody has a chance of meeting that. I've never seen a person more dedicated to their brother. And I just am in awe of him. I really am. To the people who can't talk, because I know it will kill him. James, I know this is killing him. I know it is. So I know he can't get up here. There is no way to say how much we're all going to miss him. But we are.
Hi, my name is Mike, and I was a teacher and coach at Punahou School when Moo and Harlan and other kids came by. And, I got 3 stories, and the first one's not a story, it's sort of a clarification. Make sure Harlan gets this too. When Harlan and Moo and maybe Donnie too, when those guys came on to the Punahou campus. Now, Punahou School, 1841, founded by missionaries, used to be all white, then it became all Asian because of the competition, the academic competition. Really hard for a lot of kids. And not Moo. Moo was so freaking bright, it was crazy. But But when the Polynesian kids coming through, it was a chance that Puno was taking to diversify their student body. Better than Moo or Harlan. I mean, talk about wonderful guys. And I want to make it real clear to you guys, because Harlan kind of alluded to it, that, you know, they were lucky to go to Puno, but on the same token, Puno and the kids at Puno and many of the faculty were so lucky to be around these young men. So I just wanted to clarify that Moo brought a lot to the table, all the stuff that you guys are talking about. I love hearing the golf stories. I've been playing that golf for a long time, and I'm horrible, but I love it, and it just doesn't surprise me at all that he would be able to pound the ball and have those soft hands. Second thing, I was a track coach. And like Doss alluded to, an amazingly talented athlete. He was state champion his junior and senior year, both the shot and disc, which in itself is not too bad, but the discus is kind of amazing because he literally threw it so far, because we marked it, we had to go get a second tape to have up enough. He threw it 185 feet. It was about 8 feet further. No one had ever thrown it over 180 feet in Hawaii. He threw it 185 feet and some change. And we literally had to get, of course, illegal, you can't do that, but we actually had to get the two tapes to measure his throw, and that's what it was. I mean, incredible athlete to say the least. The last one, Doss and I are high school classmates, and we coached together at Puno. And so we're meeting after practice, and Doss is going to take Moo home, so Moo's out there waiting, and my two kids, who are now 40 and 36, are also waiting. So my son says, "Hey, Dad, can Moo take us into the pool?" I look at Moo and he says, of course, he loved kids, you know, big kid that he was. So they're in the pool, and I told Doss this story, it's hilarious. So they're in the pool, okay, so here's the edge of the pool, there's the water. My two kids are sitting right there, and this huge behemoth is right here. Can you guess what he's going to do?
Cannonball.
He jumps in the water right next to them, and they literally get lifted out of the pool. And you know, I told him, weren't you guys afraid he was going to jump on you or fall on you? He goes, "Oh no, not Boo. He was very accurate." So anyway, so my son sent me a text and he passed away. Loved the kid. I was a huge Boo fan for a lot of different reasons, but seeing Harlan here today really makes it a little easier. So, Minnesota guys, thank you so much for what you've done for the Moo and his family. He loved it here, and he loved you guys, and we appreciate that. And of course, seeing all the Polynesians. I live in Iowa now. There are not many Polynesian guys. It's great to see you guys here. Yes, I am 1/16 Polynesian.
What a guy. The family would like to invite each of you to join us for a reception after this is over, just to get to meet them and talk with them and to share more stories. It'll be just an honor for you to stick around with us. Now we're going to have a slideshow of Moo, and then when that's over, the family will lead us out, and then we'll go out here and fellowship together.
Someday wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, and the dream that you did to, oh why can't I? Well, I see trees of green and red roses too. I'll watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Well, I see skies of blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, singing, how do you do? They really sing, I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. I love the chimney top, that's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. The dream that you did to, why, oh why can't I?